Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today I am with Stuart Price. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Busy day ahead of you?
I have two children, three and a half, and one 10-month old. So
Oh my
every day
goodness.
is a busy day, but yes.
So definitely a busy day ahead of you. Are they on half
Yeah.
term? I mean, I suppose they're
Uh,
too young to even be at school,
oh
nursery.
yeah, no, they are. They are. Nursery is still on, but Archie, my boy, only goes twice a week. So today is not a nursery day.
So
And
it's a
then
busy
Molly is
day.
just a baby, just a busy day at a park somewhere. We'll figure it out.
Well, let's hope the weather stays good for that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Good. So, for those listening, would you like to introduce yourself and just say a bit about how you came about being in the performance industry?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, my name's Stuart Matthew Price, and I have been actively working in the industry for most of my life since I was a kid, really, with the National Youth Music Theatre back in 1997, I think was the shows that I did then. But then as a professional, I graduated Mount View Academy of Theatre Arts in 2007, and I've been working solidly in the industry in some capacity ever since then. And it sort of all started from my parents listening to musical theatre, predominantly my mother. And I think I was 6 years old and we were traveling to see my grandparents who were living in the West Midlands, in West Bromwich area. And we were traveling in the car and my mum put on some music on a cassette tape. That's how old I am. And I was like, oh, what is this? And she was like, it's a musical. I was like, what's a musical? And that was kind of the beginning of my passion. And I was about 6 years old, as I say. So yeah,
Wow,
my whole life has been theatre in some capacity. Yeah.
that's fantastic. And did you know at that point that it could be your career?
No, I mean, I think it's, I see now with having kids as well, like you have you slowly start to find your passions a little bit. But you never know how good you are at this stuff or whether you're even going to make it. Like just because I love football, but I was never going to be a footballer, you know? So it's just like, it was one of those things I always hoped it would work out. And I think people recognized that I had like an ounce of talent that could have potential. So all I could do is focus on it, work on it, and see if I could achieve that dream. And thankfully, I did, and I have managed to perform in some remarkable venues and spaces all over the world. And like I honestly feel like if I weren't around tomorrow, I would be able to look back in my spiritual way and go, yeah, I did it. I got everything I sort of needed, and now it's just you always want more. You always want to strive to bigger goals. But everything I set out as a kid to try to achieve, I've been very fortunate enough to achieve it.
Wow, that's fantastic. And how did you manage navigating school around this? Because even nowadays, it's hard to go into the performance industry from like an academic background. And I feel like
Mhm.
schools are really a bit clueless, really, of how to guide a student that wants to do performing arts. So, how did you navigate it? And what would be your advice to kids nowadays that want to go into that industry?
Oh, okay, right. Oh, good question. Right. Um, well, obviously, back in the 90s, uh, it was different back
Yeah.
then. And I'm not wishing to be political, but we had a very heavy Labour government that had sort of reintroduced the arts a little bit more and was supporting the arts a lot more
Nice.
than maybe either government can do it at the moment. But hopefully that will improve. Anyway, I say not political, but so there was a lot of support for music, art, culture, and theatre when I was at school. But I went to a school that also had an incredible sports arm to the school and academia arts. That was it was a good school for my area. So I think I was lucky because not only did I have amateur dramatics and all of those sort of after school activities that really excited me and gave me that outlet that only theatre can do. Um, I was championed by my music teacher, Hugh Thomas, or Mr. Thomas, as we called him back then. And he was the one that suggested to me after I'd done the National Youth Music Theatre, which I just, I think a friend passed on the application and said, you should try out for this. And I managed to get in. That was kind of the moment when I thought, oh, I might be able to do this. I was 13, I think, at the time. I was like, yeah, I think I might want to do this for my job. But at school, my music teacher, I was ready to go to normal college around the corner and do theatre studies or something like that as an A level, which would have served me well, I'm sure. But my music teacher suggested I try for the Brit School in Croydon.
Mm.
For those who don't know the Brit School, it's where like Adele went and Leona Lewis, Amy Winehouse. That's all. They're more of the pop side of things, but they had a really good musical theatre program as well. And so I ended up moving to Croydon at 16 and studying at the Brit School and starting there. So I think it's hard to get into the industry no matter who you are, even what age you are. I think you just have to have determination and honesty within yourself. Like, is this something that you're prepared to endure is one of them, because that moment when you're on stage, um, no matter what it is, or even if it's a moment when you're engaging with an audience in some way, because I write shows and I produce shows, so I still like to engage with audiences through that storytelling, even if I'm not the one delivering that story as the actor or the vocalist. So if you get such a kick and a buzz out of that, it's kind of ingrained within you. It's like it goes through your veins. It's everything to you. So I kind of feel like if you've got that, there is a way that you can work in the industry. It might not always be the way that you necessarily think. You might love it so much and want to be a performer, but maybe your voice isn't going to do that, or your ability to connect with text isn't going to be the level that is required by some people. And that's okay. Pivot, change the career path, and stick with your passion that you love. You just got to try and just be honest with your limitations and expectations, I guess. I think I've answered it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And what I kind of get from that is that if it's something you really want to do, it's kind of going out yourself and making those contacts with people from after school clubs, asking what their experience in the industry is, how they would navigate it, and kind of doing your own research to find what path you can go down to achieve your goal, basically. Which I think,
Yeah, absolutely.
if
You've got the business. It's a wonderful community, but you only, like anything, you only get out of it what you put in. So if you're prepared to work hard, network as we call it, talk to people,
yeah,
learn from people, because you could get to a drama school, you can spend the money, you can get the training and the skill set, and think that you're going to be the biggest star that's ever walked on earth.
yeah,
You're not in control of that. All you're in control of is the work and the commitment that you put into it. Um, and just trust that it will find its way and enjoy the journey.
yeah, definitely. So then you went on to train at Mount View, which is a very
Mhm.
prestigious college. How did you find your time there?
It was what, 2004 to 2007. It's kind of like the beginning of the end of an era at Mount View, as the head of musical theatre was starting to sort of take a sabbatical and then eventually move to Australia. So there was like a shift that began to happen. And then they ended up getting a new building and moving to Peckham
Yes.
and now
Yeah.
reinventing themselves again, um, which I still haven't visited and I want to.
It's
But
huge.
there's,
That building
is
is
it?
absolutely, oh, you go in and you're like, whoa, there's so many studios. It's absolutely massive.
That's brilliant because, like, for us, we had three different buildings that all would, maybe one building had a level in it, but then it had offices above and below and things. It wasn't the easiest to navigate, but there was something really quirky and fun about it. Like, you knew if you're going to have your musical theatre classes, they were going to be in this building. If you were putting a show on, it was in another one. And then if you go next door, you do your acting classes and your serious drama stuff. There was just something really fun about it. But the whole experience was just glorious. Like, you really felt every day you would turn up, even if you had to be in your leotard and unitards at 8 o'clock in the morning to do a ballet class that you knew was really, you're never going to be a ballet dancer. I mean, no one wants to see this in a unitard. Um, um, so, I mean, I was a very skinny guy back then, and I think I've got a picture of me wearing one. I looked like a reject from Cats. It just was never going to work out for me. Um, so, but you just loved it. There's something about being at a drama school. It's like a professional drama club where there's consequences for your actions, and you don't put the work in, you fail your degree. But it was just such a creative and energetic time, and it doesn't really fully prepare you for what life is like outside because it's this little microcosm, this little bubble of people all just thinking it's all going to be glorious. But that in itself kind of makes it so special.
Yeah.
I'm big fan, and Mount View was the teachers were great, and my singing teacher, who's sadly passed away,
Oh,
um, he was the one that really helped me sort of find more confidence in my voice and open it up to be able to do things that I never thought it could do, and I will forever be indebted to that man.
that's so special. There's always that one person, isn't there?
There is along the way, like I can think of those couple of people that really made a difference. Whether it's just a little word of wisdom, or literally going, here's something, take this and go and do this, and you're like, okay, I'll go do that. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's special. I think in all parts of life, there's always someone.
Yeah. And especially in singing, because everyone has, well, pretty much the same structure. It's just about knowing how to access it, essentially, isn't
Hmm.
it? So sometimes a teacher will just say something and you'll be like, huh, I never knew I could do that. And then you just work on it and it builds and you learn more and more about yourself. And it's your voice is something quite special because instruments you play them, but your voice is like your own instrument. So I feel like there's another level of it's so personal to be able to do
Hmm.
something with your voice. And I feel that that is something quite special when you figure out something new about yourself.
Well, I would say that, like, one of the things I've been battling with over the last um, sort of 5 years, from just before pandemic hit, but then more so recently due to stepping back a little bit, having a family, and trying to get through these early years, which are,
Yeah.
no one tells
Oh.
you exactly how they're going to be, but they're wonderful and also horrendous at the same time. I don't think I sleep well anymore. Um, but I was kind of like going, all right, where's my career going? I've got kids now. Can I do 8 shows a week? I'd be away for bedtimes and stuff like that. Like, how can I keep doing? And the thing I always come back to is, no matter what I choose to do, and no matter where my career goes, I have to keep singing because A, I love it. It really brings me joy to sing. And B, I feel like it's a privilege that I have the ability to sing. Now, whether people enjoy it or not, that's subjective. That's up to the person listening. But the fact that I get the opportunities to open my mouth and use my instrument to bring an opinion of any sort from another human being is a gift. So I think, yeah, everybody's instrument, whether it works or not, is a gift that we can speak.
For sure. That brings us quite nicely onto a performance you'll be at in a week's time. Would you like to explain to the viewers what that might be?
Yeah, well, I have been working with Scott Allen, an American composer and lyricist, since about 2010. We did a workshop together, and I was sort of just brought in to sing some of his new stuff, and we just built a good relationship from there. And anytime he comes to London or something, if there's a chance that I'm free and I can be in his concert with him, I will be. And so No, next Sunday on the 10th of November at 6:30. Oh, right. I thought it was later than that, so at least I'll get
There
home
you
early.
go.
There we go. Got to be warmed up for that one. Um, to celebrate Scott's Dreaming Wide Awake album, which was his sort of first big album that he released, featuring lots of different Broadway names on it. It was kind of, I feel like Scott was sort of a pioneer where that was concerned, to sort of take, here's some songs I've written that aren't necessarily from a through line written musical, but just poppy influenced musical theatre songs. And I'm getting loads of famous Broadway people just to come and smash them out of the park. So I think he kind of sort of pioneered that avenue that everyone goes down now. But so this album is kind of the foundation of this concert, and I think we're going to be singing other songs that he has written over the years as well. But a lot of them are from this Dreaming Wide Awake album. But yeah, so it's myself and plenty of other singers, very well known, wonderful performers coming to Cadogan Hall. And as I say, it starts at 6:30. Tickets are still available, and it should be a really lovely night. And Scott's going to be there, and he'll talk about the songs, and he's going to play the songs. So it'll just, if anyone's been to a Scott Allen concert before, you know that it's slightly unpredictable at times,
Mhm.
and everyone just has a good time. And your faces get melted by these ridiculous vocals that we have to try to pull off.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. So it sounds like the audience are going to be in for a treat if they've booked tickets.
I hope so. I feel like that will be the case. I mean, you've
One
got
night
Ollie
only.
Thompson. Yeah.
Oh, Oliver Thompson. I mean,
Hmm.
people like that. I've got the list. I've got a list of people that are going to be there.
Yeah.
Lucy Jones, Amy Bartolomeo.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're singing a duet together. Actually, I've never
are
worked with
you?
her, and we're going to sing a duet together. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. And we've got Rob Houchen, who's done Les
Hmm.
Mis. I mean, he's got a fantastic voice as well. It looks like it's going to be an absolutely fantastic night. So if anyone's around that area on Sunday, 10th of November, get yourselves down there because I think it's a night not to be missed.
No, exactly. And I can't remember the last time Scott was here doing a gig. It would have been pre-pandemic, so it's really great that he's back um, in London and doing his thing. So,
Definitely, yes. So, with things like that, so the odd concert that you might do, how do you then navigate that family life? Because you said obviously you're going through those early stages of being a parent. How has
mm.
that changed things for you?
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, we when Archie became two, and his sort of sleep schedule became very much, he's just going to have one nap in a day, but it's just one kid to navigate, and fine, we can cope with that. Between myself and my wife, we sort of split up our day because we both sort of work remotely doing the work that we do, and we're both performers and vocalists and stuff. So there's always something creative in our household. But essentially, I would take the morning until his nap's done, and then Heather would take the afternoon and do her work then. So we'd get quite a lot done. And as a result, I started to book in more gigs, more concerts, and more things came my way. Then the second kid, which we planned, wasn't necessarily didn't take as long to happen as we thought it might do. So we're getting a bit older. And so suddenly we're like, oh, okay, everything's sped up a little bit. So I must say, I don't think with all the gigs that I've had coming up, like this particular week coming up, Heather and I are doing a Carpenters concert in Cirencester, next to the Barn Theatre, and then I've got to go to Bournemouth to do a Bee Gees concert with uh, the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, and then the day after that, I'm doing Scott Allen's gigs. So suddenly, there's three of the whole week is taken up doing gigs, and they never usually come so big. Oops, I just not the desk. Um, and and if I didn't have Heather, I don't know how I would ever be lucky enough to do what I do. She is an incredible woman, but she just says, "Yeah, okay, if you got to do it, take the time, go and do it, and I'll look after the kids." And she sacrifices her own, so I we use some better term, dreams to raise these kids on those days when I can't be around to help. It's wonderful. Like she's amazing. So that's how I navigate it because I have an incredible support network of my wife and then my parents and her parents come over from America to help support on really busy periods if we both need it. Um, but it's great. Hopefully, as the kids get a bit older, like Archie's going to be 4 next year, so he'll start to get to the point when I can maybe bring him to a rehearsal or he can sit
Yes.
in and watch the things and stuff and get him more involved. Molly, she's, as I say, 10 months, so she's got a bit of time yet before she can do anything. But it's not easy. It's not easy to have kids in this industry, and it felt like the industry has for a while been set up to not necessarily help in that capacity. But I know there's active steps being made because why should anybody sacrifice having a family for whatever job they're doing? You
Yeah.
know, it shouldn't be a choice. You should be able to do both.
Exactly. I was speaking to, I think it was Sharon Sexton a few months
Hmm.
back, and we were talking about this exact topic and how in the past shows used to be so accommodating to having children in the industry, like them being able to come and sit backstage in your dressing room while you're doing the show, and that now it's almost like an unspoken thing that's just suddenly really declined in the industry, and it's not such a thing that happens anymore, and how
Yeah.
the schedule is just crazy. But I think it was her that said that some shows now you can have an alternate, so you do like a certain amount of shows a week, and then the other nights you can spend with your children, and it does make it more accessible for people navigating parenthood, because obviously that's a huge part of life, and you
Mm.
don't want to miss those early years of your child growing because it only happens once.
Exactly. And once they're at school and everything like that, yeah, it all starts. It's a different type of difficulty, but it starts to get easier where it comes to your demand and your time, so you can be more productive and do more things. Um, but yeah, it's it's been a bit of an eye opener, all of this side of things, and understanding the pressure that it has on women who are pregnant during shows, and it's been really lovely. I've seen a lot when Gina Beck was pregnant, a fantastic performer. She had a lot of support to continue doing the shows that she was in whilst carrying a baby until close to the end of the third term. So like that sort of level is really really exciting to see that that's
Mm.
becoming more acceptable and not like just because the character isn't pregnant doesn't mean that the actor or actress can't be a parent. You know, like if you need a pregnant woman on stage to do the role, so be it. Let's suspend our disbelief, people.
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly like Samantha Barks in Frozen. She went quite
Yeah.
far, didn't she, with well being Elsa. She went quite far into her pregnancy on stage, which was fantastic.
I mean, she could have given birth during that the top notes in those songs, didn't she? No, but that's great. But it's really good that producers are starting to support that more, and because I do think once you become a parent, no, there is always going to be a balance of one parent working more than the other parent, no matter what gender or age. There is one predominant parent that is going to have to focus on trying to bring money in, and the other parent focus on raising the kids in those early stages. So whatever support we can give to either one of those parties, I'm all here for. And it's good for me to remember if I ever produce things again in the future to try to build that into the action plan.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So talking about your producing side of things, how
Mm-hmm.
did you get into that?
Producing, I've always loved the idea, ever since I was a kid, of theatre being a way to create escape for people. So as an actor, I loved the fact that if I sang a song or I was in a show playing a character, I was helping to allow people to escape into a story the way that I felt when I saw Joseph in 1992, I think it was, at the London Palladium, the first big show I ever saw. Maybe it was 1990. Doesn't matter. It happened. So when I first saw Joseph at the Palladium back in the day, it was that feeling of nothing else mattered except where I was in that moment. and that story that I was sort of observing and being exposed to. So I always wanted to create that as an artist in whatever form. When I wrote shows or when I write shows, it is to create that world that allows the actors to escape as well as the audience. And then from a producer perspective, it's about taking it that one step further and going, I get to create opportunities where everybody can escape, and then including myself when it all comes together. So it was there was always that underlying part of me that really got excited about that idea, or that romanticism, I guess, of what theatre can do for people. But is 2011, I was doing Shrek the Musical at Drury Lane, and they
Can I
announced
just
that,
say, can I just say that's the first West End show I ever saw.
oh, really? Who was your Princess Fiona?
I cannot remember. I will have
Oh.
been 7.
Gosh, you're making me feel very old now. You were you were 7. Oh, wow. Well, okay. So as much as it depresses me, does that mean you were born in 2004?
2003.
2003. Okay, so if you're 7, then you might have seen us in the original West End
Yeah,
cast, the first
that's the one
cast,
I
with
saw at
Amanda Holden.
Drury
Well,
Lane.
in that case, then you definitely would have seen me as a pig and a tap dancing rat, and many other little cameos along the way. Um,
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, how very nice of you, yeah. Posting, posting, signed an eviction notice. Um, well, that's great. Bit of Shrek.
Yeah.
Well,
So
okay.
you
Well,
were
I'm glad.
saying
I'm glad you managed to. So, well, I hope you managed to escape and enjoy
my
the
favorite one.
storytelling of our cast.
Favorite
Well,
one.
at the time there was a shop on Seven Dials just down the road from Matilda, or where Matilda is, called Dress Circle, and it was essentially a CD album sort of shop, but it also had some merch and things like that, and books, all to do with theatre and musicals. And it was like, it was the place to go and get your cast albums. For me as a kid, every time I went to London, I would always make my parents take me there so I could find the latest obscure musical that I hadn't heard of before, and so I could buy it and listen to it and just be like, oh wow, this is cool. That's one of my favorite things to do. So they announced that they were going to close because, you know, shops weren't having a good time at that point. So I was like, okay, what can I do to help? Because they were selling my album, which came out like a year before then. So for me, it was like, this is one of the only places at the moment where people can buy music by independent artists, let alone original West End Broadway casts from decades gone. It's a magical space. How can we save it or help it? So I teamed up with my friend James, and we decided to put on a series of in-store events and then a big concert at what is now known as His Majesty's Theatre, where Phantom is on,
Yes.
and get a big orchestra and try to get some original casts from cast albums back together, and just put on a night of musical theatre, which you didn't have that often. I don't think there'd been something similar to this on this level since like Hey Mr. Producer with Cameron McIntosh. So now we're lucky that we get these wonderful concerts that are put on and have awesome people come and do it. It's become a bit of the norm now. Like half the time I'm like, okay, what concert's been announced today and when's that on, and can we all go? Because it's a different way of experiencing shows without putting a full production on. Anyway, it's a whole different topic. So we put this big concert on, and I'd never done any producing before. And it kind of made me go, okay, this is fun. It's stressful, and I think I lost a lot of weight, and I got a bit sick at one point on my voice because I was so tired.
Oh no.
Um, Showbiz, but there was something about when the show opened in a packed theatre, and this orchestra started to do the Gypsy Overture, which again hadn't been heard, I think, for quite a long time. I was like, this is something else. There were goosebumps that went through everyone. You just felt the energy of the room, and I was like, I love the fact that I just created that.
Yeah.
And so James and I had a chat about setting up a company, which we did, called United Theatrical, and then we produced various concerts at the other palace in the studio of writing by American teams. And then eventually we brought Andrew Lipper over for his first concert in the UK. Andrew Lipper wrote Adam's Family, Big Fish, Wild Party, I Am Harvey Milk, which just recently had a concert at Cadogan Hall actually. And then off the back of that, we got the rights to do the Adams Family for the first UK tour. So um, our company was part of the producing team on that, which was fantastic to sort of see that through. We produced a few other things, put some money into some other things, and I've stepped away a bit from producing now, whilst I sort of focus on other things. But I think there's still that bit of me that would probably get back into it somewhere down the line when I feel a bit more like, okay, I've got time to do this.
Yeah. It's mesmerizing to hear that side of things. I feel like it's not spoken about as much, and at all, really. So it's really nice to hear.
Well, I
Um,
would say that anyone that is in the business, I think it's really important to take note of everybody in every department that works on a show or in a production of any sort, because there are so many cogs in that machine. And it's very easy as an actor just to think, well, I'm the most important thing, but like sometimes the actor is the least most important thing. We're we're all trying to make this machine work and come together. And I think the more you learn about that side of things, the more respect you can have for your colleagues, the more informed you are about how the industry can operate, and then you can just enjoy it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Just before we wrap up, it's been a fantastic episode. I've absolutely loved chatting to you. I always ask my guests if they could have someone on, you can nominate someone to come and impart their knowledge onto this podcast to inspire younger generations, tell stories about their career. Who would it be? And I will reach out to them and try and get them on.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you've had him yet, but um, I've always enjoyed chatting with Hadley Fraser.
Oh, I haven't heard.
Hadley and I have done. We've had quite a few things along the way, and adventures along the way. He's sung my musical and debuted my musical 10 years ago. We actually did the Scott Allen workshop together. That's when we first met and worked together. Um, but like I always feel like he is not clouded by the fame and fortune side of the business. He's got a very great career. His wife Rosalie is also incredibly talented. Like they're like the dream couple, I think, of the industry. He's worked excessively in theatre, film, television. Like he's just an incredible artist, but he's so rooted in the work. And I think for me, if you could get somebody on like him to talk about his experiences and his advice that he would give to new people coming in, I think there's a lot that can be learned from a man as wonderful as he is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Stuart. It's been an absolute pleasure. And everyone listening, I hope you will get tickets for a week's time. Sounds like an absolutely amazing concert and not one to be missed. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Not too busy, hopefully, with
No,
your
I'll find some time to relax.
kids. And take care. Thank you so much. And to everyone listening, this is actually season one finale. So
Ooh, oh, I would have dressed up. Nice. All right, Dickie bow tie or something. Well, look, thank
50th
you very much for having
episode.
me.
Yeah, 50th episode
Wow.
is a huge milestone for me. Yeah, so
Congratulations.
there you go. You're honoured, hopefully, to be the 50th.
Oh,
See
I'll be
you
the judge. Of course, I'm honored. I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best with the series two, and hopefully somewhere down the line we'll chat again.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right,
Goodbye.
take care.